All right, Shalom. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Okay, so I have a few news articles that we're gonna, let play, and we're gonna grab these scriptures. All right, so it's three videos, and this is all fair use. All right, we're going to kind of tackle, some of these things going on, in the Middle East. All right, the so-called Middle East, really Southwest Asia. All right, between, the U.S. and Israel and, Iran, which we know pursuant to prophecy, Ezekiel 39, that Gog, Russia, is going to be a guard unto certain nations, one of those nations being Persia, okay, Iran. All right, so we know according to prophecy that Russia is going to get involved and is ultimately going to, be on the offensive in, invading Israel, along with the rest, or with a large portion, we believe, of the former USSR countries, if not all of them. That's what the scripture means when it says that the Most High is going to put hooks in their jaws. All right, the Most High is going to turn Russia back to its old USSR ways. All right, so, just a quick thought, eventually Russia is going to get involved according to prophecy. All right. And, of course, go look up, if you don't know already, go look up GMS, Ezekiel 38 breakdown, Ezekiel 39 breakdown, for you brothers who are newer, you of course, you got to know these breakdowns, got to stay sharp on them, of course, but it's especially important to understand, these chapters in this time, all right, this time that we're living in, okay, which is the time of the end when the Most High is getting ready to gather all nations, all right, so let's actually get Zephaniah 3 and 8, which I have right here. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Right, the Most High is going to gather these nations into the Middle East, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, that Saudi Arabia region, all right, the Levant, Saudi Arabia region, okay, and he's going to pour upon, those armies, his fierce indignation, which is what? That nuclear hellfire, all right? Let's go real quick, just get another quick precept. Isaiah 13. I'm sorry, let me try and find the scripture. Okay, bear with me, brothers. I'm sorry. I could have sworn it was in Isaiah 13. Okay, let's see. Fuel of fire. Okay, I'm sorry. It was Isaiah 9. Isaiah 9 and 5, it says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Talking about what? World War III, nuclear destruction, okay, which is going to, take place in America, Babylon the Great. This place will be fully destroyed. It'll be never inhabited again, all right? It's going to be the world's biggest desert. That's actually in the chapter we were just in, Isaiah 13. It's in Isaiah 34, Revelation 18, other places in the scriptures as well, all right? That this place is going to be a desert, okay, after the nuclear destruction comes. All right, and you're also going to have that nuclear destruction in the so-called Middle East area, all right, during World War III, okay? So anyway, that's what this is all leading up to, but we understand that before the nuclear destruction comes, okay, you have to have what the RFID microchip, and we're going to show you why in two scriptures, right? Revelation 13 and 16. Let's explain what the mark is, right? And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. That word is charagma. It's a physical mark. Okay, look up GMS, MOTB breakdown. The mark of the beast is the microchip, all right, which the world international bankers, the top wicked elite of Esau, Edom, they want to push this thing because it gives them full control. And that's what their devilish minds want, all right? They're not interested in money anymore. They have money, all right? They want to have the whole world receive a digital ool, all right, which is a symbol of slavery, okay? In their right hand or in their foreheads, all right, which the foreheads is the brain chip, the Neuralink brain chip, all right? Hand is that little hand chip in that little fleshy part of your hand between your thumb and your index finger, okay? Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, which is the microchip, is going to be used to scan to make purchases, okay? Or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603.6. That's the Universal Product Code, or UPC. All right, when you look at a barcode, right, every basically combination, right, has a number attached to it. So if you have, certain, I don't know what the code is, right, but I know that 2 bars right next to each other, right, a set of double bars, that number is 6. And every barcode pretty much, right, has that UPC, Universal Product Code, which is 666, all right? Double bar on the right-hand side, double bar in the middle, double bar on the left-hand side, all right, which that's how the scanner machine knows how to read the code. It reads it from right to left, and it reads that first 6, that first double bar on the right, and it tells the computer, okay, start reading. Then it gets to that double bar or that 6 in the middle, and it tells the computer, okay, you're halfway. Then it gets to that double bar or that 6 on the left-hand side, and it tells the computer, okay, you're done reading the sequence. Now, whoop-de-whoop, look it up or whatever, all right? So that's that Universal Product Code. It's 666, all right? So let's see what happens if you take this. Revelation 14 and 9, it says, doom for worshipers of the beast. All right. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. You'll be tormented with that nuclear destruction, okay? So let's let these videos play. Fair use, fair use. So my point being with that, right, is that we need the microchip to come before World War III can actually take place, all right? So fair use, not making any money off of this, and let's let it play.
Begin tonight here with the breaking news in the war in Iran. Tonight, U.S. embassies and consulates coming under attack and Americans stranded across the region. Late today, a drone strike reported near the U.S. consulate in Dubai. The drone coming down in a parking lot, fire breaking out. Just hours earlier, 2 drones hitting the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia. At least 6 embassies in the region now closed tonight. And this evening, 24 hours after the State Department urged all Americans to leave the Middle East, Secretary of State Marco Rubio late today saying they're now preparing military flights, charter flights, even coming up with land routes for Americans to try to get to other countries to try to get out. And tonight, with Iran essentially shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, where so much of the world's oil passes through, President Trump is now saying he will call on the U.S. Navy to escort ships through if necessary. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell leading us off from the region again tonight.
Tonight, U.S. embassies and consulates under attack from Iran, with U.S. citizens trapped in the war-torn region. The State Department now scrambling to secure military aircraft and charter planes to get them out, after telling Americans in 14 countries to evacuate. Tonight, video verified by ABC News shows an Iranian drone slamming into the US consulate in Dubai. The explosion and fire in a parking lot next to the consulate. The US Embassy in Amman, Jordan, also targeted. And drone strikes shutting down the US Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Officials say so far no one's been injured in these strikes. And tonight, with Americans stranded across the Middle East, our Karen Travers asking President Trump, was there not a plan for this before attacking Iran?
Commercial air travel right now is severely restricted in the Middle East, and thousands of Americans are stranded. Why wasn't there an evacuation plan, and will you send planes to get people out?
Well, because it happened all very quickly.
Secretary Rubio. Late today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the plan to get Americans out.
It'll be a variety of methods: charter flights, military flights and transports, expanded commercial opportunities, and in some cases land routes that will allow them to go to neighboring countries who might have open airports at that point.
Tonight, the president saying he was, quote, surprised by the scope of Iran's retaliation across the region, even though Iran had clearly warned how it would respond.
I was surprised, and now those countries are all fighting against them and fighting strongly against them.
Tonight, Iran effectively shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's oil flows, sending oil and gas prices up already. Tonight, President Trump saying, if necessary, the US Navy will provide escorts for ships in the Strait of Hormuz. As US and Israel launching another wave of strikes on Iran. More than 700 Iranians killed, according to the Red Crescent. Today, there was a mass burial for the victims of the school attack, which left more than 160 dead. The Pentagon yet to explain what happened. And Israel.
Yeah, those are some high numbers. Just chime in real quick. I think it was 700 and 160, that died in those two attacks, man. All right, so Babylon, America and Israel, all right, they are not playing around, all right? So this is war, Like Elder Apostle Tahar had said in his lesson, I was listening to it this morning. I'm not sure if it premiered this morning or last night, but nevertheless, he said, this is war. They don't have to come out and declare it, say, we are officially at war with Iran. No, you killed their leader, man. This is definitely a war, all right? But of course, we look at this through the lens of prophecy, and we understand that, yes, this is World War III getting ready to kick off, but it cannot fully kick off until, or get to its fullest height, right? Until the RFID microchip is mandated and most of the world is chipped, right? Because what we just read in Revelation 14, verses 9 and 10, all right? This nuclear destruction is a punishment for those that take that chip, all right? Among Arab people, it's also a punishment for the heathen, If a heathen refuses the chip and they're in America, that's not going to save them. They're still going to get destroyed, okay?
It struck an area in Qom where Iran's Interim Leadership Council was meeting to appoint a new supreme leader. Tonight, verified videos online showing the area where those meetings were allegedly being held, reduced to rubble, but Iran denying they were meeting there. Trump asked who'll lead Iran next.
Most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports.
The president was asked what the worst case would be for Iran's next leader.
The worst case would be we do this and then somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous person, right? That could happen.
Tonight, the Pentagon identifying 4 of the 6 service members killed after that Iranian strike in Kuwait on a U.S. tactical operations center. U.S. officials tell ABC News that facility did not have adequate defenses, making them vulnerable to aerial attacks. And after 3 U.S. F-15 fighter jets were shot down over Kuwait by friendly fire, one of them seen spiraling to the ground. Remarkable video, verified by ABC News circulating online, shows the tense moments as locals confront one of the downed American pilots, approaching one with a pipe. His parachute still attached. That pilot putting his hands up and kneeling, before the men realized he was an American.
You're safe, you're safe.
And this video showing Kuwaitis finding another one of those pilots
Thank you for helping us.
after she's safely ejected too. David, amid this scramble to get Americans out, the State Department telling people to call a hotline. But when you dial the number, an automated message saying, do not rely on the US government for evacuation at this time.
There you go. So much for, for Babylon being there to help you, all right? So let's actually just jump right to this next video from the brother Obadiah, I believe is his name. Shalom to you, brother. Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Barakatah, and Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Barakatham to all you beloved brethren out there, and you few sincere sisters, man. Anyways, I wanna reply to what he had put up, about the Strait of Hormuz, right? How it's being closed by Iran, and that's gonna seriously drive up the prices of oil and natural gas, all right? And we don't know how the Most High is going to do it or whatever, or what exactly, the factors that the Most High is going to use are, but we know that all hell is going to break loose in America. And it really kind of already is, we already are in Jacob's trouble, like Elder Apostle Tahar has said before, with the ice raids and, the devil coming down with great wrath, right? Revelation 12 and 12. Second Ezra's the 16th chapter, right? When it goes into how, they're going to spoil and destroy those that fear the Lord, which is ultimately talking about all of Israel, right? How they're coming after the northern kingdom, so-called Hispanics, all right? But this is going to escalate, right? And, the Lord has been putting the economic squeeze on this place, and people are getting ready to lose it, all right? So to drive up the gas prices by a lot, that could help lead to all hell breaking loose over here in the States, which is prophecy, all right? And all hell's going to also break loose, throughout the rest of the world, Let's go to Daniel 12 and 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, that's the elect, everyone that shall be found written in the book, the elect of Israel, not just all Israel, okay? Jeremiah 30 and 7, of course, 2nd Ezra 15, 2nd Ezra 16, Jeremiah 30 and 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Again, the elect will be saved out of it. Okay, so that's all hell breaking loose. We're also going to have what? The Egyptian against the Egyptian. Okay, the American against the American. Okay, Isaiah 19 and 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight, everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Talking about these Americans. All right, spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Okay. Now let's let this play. All right, and we're going to get these scriptures. All right. Come on, baby.
The war on Iran is jeopardizing the entire Middle East energy industry. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter, has shut down its Ras Tanura refinery in Saudi Arabia's eastern province following a drone strike from Iran. Qatar, the world's largest exporter of gas, has shut down all of its LNG operations after facilities at Ras Laffan and Masayid were targeted. And a UAE oil platform is reportedly burning in the Gulf after being struck. Iran has made fresh threats against shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, as well as around 20% of the world's oil and gas passing through this narrow waterway. Shipping companies say 10% of the world's containers are now stuck. At least 5 vessels have been attacked in the Gulf by Iran over the past 24 hours.
So this is Iran, and this is the Strait of Hormuz. This is a 33-mile slit of water that nearly 20 million barrels a day travel through here. Now, this is critical because the United Arab Emirates, also Saudi Arabia, also Qatar, also Kuwait, Iraq, all of them rely on this little narrow strait here to get their oil out to the world. Now, if they're not able to get that out, because as of right now, Iran has closed this and has already attacked one oil tanker, nearly sinking it, so there is no more oil going out through here. You're going to have massive economic upheaval. You could see $150 to $200 a day. India, 85% export or import, 60% is coming from the Middle East. They will almost assuredly completely shut down. You'll see gas prices and economies just completely closed down. India is going to suffer. Now, we get a lot of stuff from India, so that means the United States prices are going to go up. But China is definitely going to suffer from this. They get 10 million barrels a day that they cannot replace. That's 40% of their imports. Now, they do have some stuff coming from Russia and Central Asia, but that only makes up about 10% of their daily needs. So now, again, China is going to suffer economically, and they're not just going to sit quietly and allow their economy to collapse because of the United States. Japan gets 90% of its needed oil from the Middle East. It could completely collapse and shut down. We could see an absolute collapse of Saudi Arabia. 80 to 90% go out through the Strait of Hormuz. Only 10% go out through the Red Sea. Therefore, you could see Saudi Arabia come to a screeching halt. No more money for the Saudi kingdom. And that could lead to an overthrow of the Saudi regime because the people only stay quiet because they get so much money from the Saudi government. If that's no longer coming in, the hatred for the Saudi government could uprise the people into full-fledged civil war.
All right, yeah, there you go. And the scriptures speak about uproars of the people. All right, let's get that, and then we can close out. I just kind of wanted to make this quick. I pray it was edifying. I hope I wasn't, all over the place. 2nd Ezra 9. I'll start at 1. It says, "He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before," it's talking about what? The prophecies, all right? "Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time, wherein the Highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world," you're seeing both of those, right? Yahushua spoke about earthquakes, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right, he spoke about earthquakes before he comes back, right? As well as wars and rumors of wars, all right? St. Matthew 24 and 3, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" And that word world is talking about what? Eon, age, all right? Be the end of the world, okay?
Strong's G165. Ion.
Well, we say eon, age, whatever, same difference, all right? It doesn't matter. We might pronounce it a little differently. At the end of the day, we're getting the definition correct, all right? It says, forever, okay? An unbroken age, perpetuity of time, eternity, okay? The world, universe, period of time, age, okay? Talking about what? The so-called white man's rulership, all right? His period of time, his unbroken age, his perpetuity of time, all right? When Yahushua comes back, he's going to take the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, out of power, okay? And establish the kingdom of heaven, which is the kingdom of the Israelites, okay? St. Matthew 24 and 4, "And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." That's what we're having right now, right? This is just straight up war, all right? "See that ye be not troubled, For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences, which means sicknesses, and earthquakes in diverse places. We're seeing all these things, are we not? All right, all these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, so this is where we're at, man. Very close to our Lord coming back. Stay prayed up out there, to you brothers and sisters, And, hey, all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash, double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.